Yo, YouTube, what is up? My name is Gore, and we are back on the channel with video number 2, which is a video that is going to be born out of my first video, really. My first video, if you haven't seen it yet, is I did the ESPN Confidence Pick'em for college this week. I did my picks there, but after I did that video, I kind of was thinking about what I wanted to do next and where I wanted to go with it. And I realized that there are so many more games for week 1 that I really can't just stop with the pick'em. So I wanted to highlight a couple of more, and I also, just before we get into that, I wanted to kind of recap some of the week 0 stuff from last Saturday. If you haven't had a chance to catch any of those games, I'll just kind of quickly do a recap and kind of give you my thoughts on the initial weekend of football that we saw there on Saturday. We'll start, obviously, with this game here. This whitewashing that Notre Dame put on Navy. Not much to say in this game. Navy breaking in a new head coach. Ken Niumatalolo is no longer there. They are sticking with the triple option, but my takeaways from Navy is that it's just going to be a tough year. I think this is going to be a common theme for them this year. It's just going to be a struggle to get wins and to get competitive. So, but from the Notre Dame side, I think the biggest takeaway is if Sam Hartman stays healthy, he is easily going to be in the Heisman race this year. He's going to probably be towards the top, especially if he slings it around like he did in this game. And I think, personally, I'm not a big Notre Dame fan. I'm not a Notre Dame guy, but objectively speaking, like I say, if they stay healthy and they ran for 200 yards in this game, 191, but if they do that and Sam Hartman slings it around and stays healthy, it's going to be a good year for Notre Dame. They're going to be up there well into the top 10, competing probably even for the playoffs. They have some games on their schedule with USC, and I believe they have, I think they have Clemson. I'm not quite sure, but I know they have USC. They've got a couple of games that can get them into the playoff consideration. That's for down the line, but a good first start for Notre Dame. And like I say, Heisman aspirations maybe for Sam Hartman. And again, given a healthy lineup, that they've got a shot here. As much as I hate to say it, but that's that for this game. The next game, I watched a lot of this game. And I don't know if you guys did or not, but this was a really entertaining game. It was delayed due to some weather, but once they got going, it was a really good one. Truthfully, Vanderbilt gets the win, but truthfully, Hawaii should have won this game, really. Hawaii mistakes swung this game to Vanderbilt. Hawaii dropped basically two pick sixes. They dropped 2 interceptions that could have taken points away from Vanderbilt and scored them some points. The first pick six that they dropped in the second half was just egregious. It was right in the guy's hands. They themselves, Hawaii, threw an interception in the red zone that Vanderbilt took down the field. So, Vanderbilt comes away with the win, but they don't exactly look all that impressive doing it. Hawaii kind of just shot themselves in the foot. And that is kind of the story of this game. Hawaii, we all know what's going on with them in the real world. So, certainly it's probably tough on that team. Plus, you consider all the travel that they have to do in general, just being in Hawaii and all that. So who knows what kind of year it's going to be for Hawaii. Vanderbilt, it's kind of important for them to get wins early because once they get into the SEC, it gets tougher. I like Clark Lee. I think he's a good coach. I don't know how much he's going to get out of Vanderbilt. As you saw if you watched the game, they're rebuilding the stadium, so they're putting in. Hopefully, Clark Lee can kind of get them, towards bowl eligibility and maybe even a bit higher, and that would be a big success for Vanderbilt. So they get the win, albeit not all that impressive. We'll see what happens as the year goes on with Vanderbilt, and maybe they get to a bowl game. I think that would be a nice season for Vanderbilt. So that was the second game that I was looking at on Saturday. Then the other game, I did not catch this. Well, sorry, I did catch this game. I didn't catch the next one. But this one, this is one of those like clunker specials that I like so much. you're not going to watch a whole lot of UMass and New Mexico State during the year, but week 0 is a good time to get it in. And this game was actually quite entertaining. It was very run game focused. There was a lot of running game, some big plays in the running game. And obviously, as you see, high scoring with UMass getting the win. New Mexico State turned the ball over and kind of the lead kind of ballooned late. But the fourth quarter got a little wacky with turnovers and all that. But this game was, I didn't see, I know they played each other the last few years, but this game was a bit chippy. So I don't know if there was some stuff that happened in prior years with these two. But it was a physical game. It was, like I say, a lot of run game. And it was quite entertaining for UMass and New Mexico State. So you'll take it where you can get it, right? These two teams, for UMass, I think Don Brown is now the head coach, the defensive coordinator from Michigan, and Jerry Kill, who had been the head coach from Minnesota and then bounced around. He's the head coach now at New Mexico State. So we'll see. I don't know how many games these teams are winning for the rest of this year. But this game was pretty entertaining to watch. Let me know if you guys watched any of this one as well. It was kind of a fun one for two teams you're probably not going to see very much this year. The last game I wanted to quickly recap on this past Saturday is one that I did not see, but I did just want to mention this. San Diego State beats Ohio, but all you really need to know, I mean, I've watched enough San Diego State football to know how this team operates. They are awful to watch offensively, and you could tell here, just looking at the box score, they 300 total yards for the game. They don't do a thing offensively, but they play great defense, and they feast on turnovers. And I think Ohio threw 3 interceptions, which, again, if you guys watch this game, drop a comment. Just let me know how it went. But I can imagine that it was basically defense, turnovers, and just the absolute bare minimum of offense, which is what San Diego State provides on their best day. Is what took San Diego State across the finish line. They're going to have another good year, right? Because that's how San Diego State plays. That's who they are. They play really good defense. They're very, very good in that regard. But holy shit, they are hard to watch offensively. And as a result, they'll win some games. It won't be pretty, but they'll win some games. So that's just kind of the quick recap of last Saturday. Wanted to throw a couple of more Week 1 games on coming up into a video, and I wanted to with one that is, this video is being posted Wednesday morning for me. So tomorrow you're going to have 2 games that I'm going to talk here, and then there's one Saturday, and then I believe the LSU Florida State game is Sunday. But we'll start here with Florida Utah coming up. This is tomorrow night, Thursday night. They played a great game last year, these two teams in Florida. Florida kind of got the win and kind of got Anthony Richardson's NFL trajectory started. He played a very good game in that one. In general, before I get into it, I'm a fan of this. I like, and I'm happy to see SEC teams taking their show on the road a little bit more. I do not like neutral site games at all. I think they're bullshit, and I think they should just be completely done away with. I would much rather see teams going on the road, playing true road games, and actually going into a tough environment and proving it. And there have been some SEC teams the last couple of years that have been willing to do that. Alabama went to Texas. They almost lost, but I mean, they probably should have lost, but they at least took their show on the road. Auburn went up to Penn State, off the top of my head, and now you have Florida doing this, making this West Coast trip to Utah, and again, another tough environment. For Florida, I believe Graham Mertz has won this starting job, the transfer from Wisconsin. We'll see. That's a kind of a big adjustment from Anthony Richardson and his dual threat ability to Graham Mertz and his basically straight drop back pass, play style. We'll see how Billy Napier and the crew kind of adjust to that, because Florida wants to run the ball. That's what Billy Napier does. So we'll see. Maybe if Graham Mertz can add something in the passing game, maybe they've got a good offense going. But we'll see. For Utah, I believe they have some injury concerns heading into this game tomorrow. Cameron Rising and the tight end Keithy, I believe, are still coming. They're still kind of recovering from the torn ACLs, so I don't know. They're kind of question marks. I'm not sure if they're going to play. I hope they do. I hope they're healthy, and I hope they do play because Utah will be in need of their services. It's a good team regardless. It's a tough environment. So I'll give you some bonus picks for these games. I do like Utah to win this game. But if Cam Rising and the tight end Keithy, if they don't play, this is going to be a much more interesting matchup, right? We'll have to see. Utah is going to be in it in the Pac-12 and the Pac-12's final year. I think they're going to be a contender right there with the USC's and Washingtons and Oregons of the world. But again, health is a big factor in that. I don't know. It takes a while to come back from a torn ACL, so we'll see how we'll see if number 1A if they play and if how effective they are coming off the blown out knees. So I like Utah in this game. It should be a good one. Last year's was a good one, and we'll kind of get it going tomorrow night, and we'll see where the chips fall. That's game number 1. I will take Utah with a little caveat there in that one. Based on the health of the quarterback and tight end. The second game I wanted to mention is also tomorrow night. It's on Fox. This one is Nebraska and Minnesota. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is really Nebraska ushering in a new era. They thought bringing in the old quarterback, Scott Frost, would be the magic elixir that kind of brought them back into the national conversation. It was a train wreck. It was a car crash. They just embarrassed themselves, really. I was shocked. I thought that was a good hire. I thought Scott Frost would make Nebraska competitive. Not even close. So they had to do what they had to do. And in comes Matt Rule, a guy who had a lot of success at Baylor, was kind of okay-ish in the NFL. And then comes back to college now, trying to rebuild this Nebraska program. It's a lot of work. He's proven that he can do it. He's not a bad coach, but he's got a lot of work to do with this Nebraska team. Hopefully he can do that. Minnesota, PJ Fleck, I think Minnesota's offense is going to be good. The receivers are good. If Ethan Kaliak-Manis, the quarterback, can kind of take a step and replace Tanner Morgan, which is, Tanner Morgan was there forever. So we'll see what the quarterback situation looks like. They're going to want to run the ball. And they'll play good enough defense. Like PJ Fleck's done a nice job with Minnesota, kind of elevating the program a little bit, and turning them into, they're not in the elite in the Big Ten, but they're in that next rung after the Ohio States and the Michigans of the world. So I think this will be a good game. If I'm going to pick it, I'll pick Minnesota, but I think I'll pick Minnesota close. But I think Matt Rule will kind of get Nebraska going for the game, and we'll see. I think it's a good matchup, and I think Minnesota will kind of sneak away with a close win, and we'll see how this rest of the season goes for Nebraska and Matt Rule. That's game number 2. Game number 3 that I wanted to throw in here is one out on the West Coast here. Boise State and Washington. I like talking about Boise State because I'm talking about blue bloods in college football is fine, but I kind of like the non-Power 5 stuff. I like the I like the lesser known quantities, even though Boise State's not so lesser known anymore. I like that stuff. I like the underdog story in college football, but Boise, listen, what's the quarterback, Hank Bachmeier, transferred out. So they've got the new quarterback coming in. Boise State runs the ball well and plays good defense, and they're going to need that defense in this game because the Washington offense is going to be really, really good. Michael Penix is back. The receivers are back. It's Kalen DeBoer in year 2 with Washington. I think it's going to be again, health being the biggest factor. But if this unit can stay healthy, they are going to light up scoreboards this year. This Washington offense is good. And when I think Washington, I typically think that they always usually like play good defense. So if their defense this time around can keep up even somewhat with their offense, they're going to have a really good year. And maybe, who knows, maybe even contend for a playoff spot. That, like I said, the offense is going to really put pressure on a lot of teams. So Boise State can play defense. Washington can put up the points. I think Washington is going to win this game, but I do think Boise State will hang with them at least for a while. Because I give a lot of respect to the Boise State program and how they play. But I think for Washington, the sky is the limit with this team. They just got to put it all together. And I think, like I say, in the Pac-12's final year, maybe they are the ones, and maybe even if it goes well, they even get 2 teams in with USC and Oregon, maybe 2 of those teams. Who knows how it's going to go? But the Pac-12, at least at the top, is looking pretty solid. I like Washington, and we'll move on to the final game in this video, which is really probably like the best game of the weekend. LSU Florida State last year, if you remember this game last year, LSU made this furious comeback, and then the extra point got blocked and doinked off the crossbar, and they wound up losing. On a personal note, I hate Brian Kelly. I cannot stand him. I think he's an obnoxious asshole. So I tend to take my dislike wherever he goes, and it's kind of a shame because prior to Brian Kelly, I really like LSU. I like the program. But I can't root for him. I just can't root for the guy. I'll try to be as objective as I can about LSU. They're loaded. They got a lot of talent, right? Jaden Daniels, Harold Perkins. Like, they're a very good team. I just do not like the head coach at all. If I were being totally objective, I would pick LSU to win this game. But I'm not, because fuck Brian Kelly. So I'm going to pick Florida State here. Upstart team. Last year, if at the beginning of the year, if you had asked me about Florida State, I would have said, well, if they don't have a really good year, they're probably going to put Mike Norvell on the hot seat. He's probably going to get fired. But they did. They turned it around. They were competitive. They had a good year. They got hot down the stretch as well. And even in the games they lost, they were very competitive against the better competition. And now they've got some hype around them. They're, I think, preseason in the top 10. So I'm going to slightly pick Florida State here, partly because I just do not like the LSU head coach. And partly because I do think there's a chance they can win. I do think it could be a good year for them. They've got Jordan Travis back. I think the offense will be good. Mike Norvell is a good offensive guy. And I like to see the teams who are in a bad way kind of come back from that and build. So I like where Florida State's at, and I hope they keep it up. And I like Florida State to win Sunday night and maybe vault themselves up. They would probably vault into the top 5 with a win. So that's kind of where I am for now. I know there's a bunch of other games, but I don't want this video to be like an hour long. So if you have a game that's on your radar and you want to kind of talk about, like I say, let's get a conversation going, drop a comment in the channel. Let me know, because you got Tennessee, Virginia. You have Ohio State, Indiana. Indiana's given them trouble before. There's plenty of other games in the mix. So if you want to let me know how you think about one of these games or another game that I haven't talked about yet, drop a comment, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I will continue to drop weekly content for you guys, pick'em and predictions and previews and all that good stuff. So thank you guys very much for hanging out, watching this video. Check out my live stream as well, where I'll kind of be talking about this in real time while playing some games. And without further ado, I will see you either in the next video or on my live stream. Take care.